Hey everyone, welcome to the semi-finals of the StarCraft 2 AI Arena tournament. We've had a really exciting tournament so far, and we're set to continue tonight. I am here with Ketrock. How you doing?
Hey, doing well.
And our newest viral internet sensation, Laughing Games. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, always good to have you. So we have made it to the semi-finals, as we say. Last week we had some really fun, interesting games. Let's just take a look at those. Eris came through against Benbot BC. NegativeZero came through against Micro Machine. Zozo beating out Sharkbot. And Tom Test putting up a really fun challenge, but unfortunately Xena rolling three lots of Zerg and with a random bot and taking down probably the biggest hard counter they had, which
That was a little heartbreaking. I'd have liked to have seen Tom Test against like one Protoss and one Terran Xena match, but that's
yeah,
uh that's the beauty of a random bot. You never know what you're gonna get. So
I know. I did actually run a check and make sure that we were actually rolling true random after that, and yes, we were. I have to put out a shout out to Laddie for running the games for us as well this week, because he's been an absolute star so far running all the games, and so thank you to Laddie. Um,
yeah, thank you so much, Laddie, and everyone who puts together these tournaments and runs Sc2Ai.net. It really is an incredible platform for hosting the games and everything. So
yeah, oh
there's lots
definitely.
of hard work that you and everyone put in.
Yeah, it's all a lot of fun though. So hopefully, hopefully, long may it continue. Anyway, let's get to our tonight's games. And first up is Eris. Um, Pretty much number one bot, seeded one, elo ridiculously high. Hasn't lost a match yet, and yeah, it's going to be a tough one to beat there. But
Yeah, uh, Eris taking on NegativeZero. Um, we saw on Eris's screen there that it had already 2-0 NegativeZero, so we kind of had a bit of a glimpse into what the match may be. However, the bot authors were able to put in an update, so who knows? Maybe there's a snipe or two that's been programmed or something.
I mean, it would
Yeah,
be fun.
and NegativeZero has been taking over the number one spot here and there against Eris too. So maybe even just whatever version of NegativeZero exists now might be even better against Eris.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, we'll
The
have to wait and see.
Yeah,
bot author's been going hard for sure. So
definitely. NegativeZero just show they're seeded two. And only lost two games against Eris so far, and the game against Tom Test. So it's been a bit of a tougher road for NegativeZero. Um, but there's a bit of history here, which I will explain. We had a finals of a tournament. I can't remember if it's the last tournament or the previous one to that. And Eris actually came out with a really fun snipe for NegativeZero. And yeah, NegativeZero basically after that went away for a little while and came back with a superior bot to try and challenge again. So yeah, so there is history in this game, definitely.
well, I'm very excited to watch them play, and I'm really glad NegativeZero is back on the bot scene. It's a Protoss bot that I think everyone can learn a lot from, and has just got phenomenal micro. So who knows? Maybe that's how it could beat Eris.
Definitely. All right. Well, I'm just booting up the game. Sorry, just slight technical hitch. We are getting the game ready, and we almost do. I'll throw my screen over.
Yeah, while we wait for the game to get booted up, everyone, make sure to click that like button on the stream and follow the Twitch, all that good stuff.
All
Give it a
right.
click.
All right. And we are go in our semi-finals.
All right, spawning up in the top left with the perfect record thus far in the tournament, it is the Red Zerg Eris. And down in the bottom right, the number 2 bot on the ladder, it is the blue Protoss NegativeZero. Yeah, so this is definitely a repeat of like finals we've had in the past. They're back and forth which one of these bots is like better in the macro games.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see and track on the ladder at the minute. Like NegativeZero has a ridiculous like 94% win rate or something right now, 94, 95. But then Eris still seems to win most of the head to head. Like not all of it, but I'd say definitely more than NegativeZero wins. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be very entertaining.
I've also noticed Eris is experimenting a little bit more on the ladder as well, so he may have been using this preseason to like try out new things, and that could be the reason why he's lost the number 1 spot. But yeah, it could definitely be because NegativeZero is better as well, because NegativeZero is a very strong bot.
Yeah, it definitely is. I don't like to cast games where bots always win, but then when it comes to watching NegativeZero's game, it's like, all right, I got to scroll through an entire page of green wins to see if it actually loses or has close matches against any other bots. So it's doing really quite well. So
yeah, so we got a pool gas expand out of Eris. Meanwhile, NegativeZero is walling off his natural base. I believe that's something that the author of NegativeZero has to like hard code for every map. It's kind of difficult to calculate where that choke point is and how to wall it off correctly.
yeah, definitely a bit of work having to hard code that in, but at the same time, it definitely rewards you because your buildings always go to the right spot.
Yeah. So most ideal spot. You can tell bots that don't calculate on their own. You get some really weird, funky walls at the natural, but
Yeah, I think as far as Protoss goes, Sharkbot's probably the biggest offender of that a little bit. But no, it's one of those choices you have to make as a bot author. Like, do I want my bot to, in theory, be plug and play with every map, or am I all right doing a little bit of work every season just to pick the building placement?
yeah. That's something I put a lot more work into actually. There's a lot less hard coding per map that I do. In fact, I think my bot can plan a map it's never seen before as well.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So first adept is out on the field, although it looks like it's just scouting forward with the shade rather than actually moving forward. Or no, it's coming back to deal with the Zergling. I see.
Yeah, Eris's scouting Zerglings can always be a nuisance, as it's always poking out with some of those. Yeah, NegativeZero just going for a third Nexus, which is cool to see. We'll see if it's able to keep economic pace with Eris or not, and maybe get into like that Mass Immortal style that it likes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always said that like the speedlings with a bot, there's the potential's there to never actually lose the speedling because it's faster than every other unit. But now that I've said that, I'm not actually sure if that's correct because just watching that interaction, like, are adept shades faster than speedlings? I don't actually know that.
I don't think they're technically faster, but I mean, like they can position ahead of speedlings potentially and get on top of them. Then of course,
if the shade is faster than the speedling is what I'm getting at. If it's not faster, then it can't even position on top of them.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that. Looks like Eris does a good job killing off one of NegativeZero's adepts at the start of the game there. So I'm not sure if it lost any units doing that. We can see the units lost tab at the start of this game. 1 drone for 1 adept. Not bad.
Yeah, that's not terrible. I mean, 2 to 1 is probably what you're going for when you lose an adept.
Yeah.
But especially if it's your only adept that's scouting at the moment, that's actually a big deal.
Yeah, NegativeZero is building up that sort of ragtag group of ground units that it likes to go for at the start of the game. A few adepts, a few zealots, a sentry in the mix. We'll see if it pokes out with these, as it does tend to get aggressive with just early ground units. And it looks like it may be poking towards that third base. It's got an adept there. And I think the zealots are coming from the south, I want to say.
Yeah, nice decision making on when to complete that shade or not. It looked like he wanted to go into the natural, but then he saw like, oh, there's a drone right next to me. Let me not do the shade. Get off instead. Nice burrow micro out of Eris here, preventing any drone losses at his third base, which is interesting. The base that's been upgraded to a layer.
Yeah, I do wonder if that's a choice by the bot authors because it's the base that's most likely to be attacked, so they want that extra HP. As that's exactly what's happening right now. NegativeZero is hitting the third of Eris. Zealot's trying to chase down a queen. We'll see if that Adept can maybe finish it off. No, looks like that queen is lucky and stays alive. NegativeZero does pull back with a good number of its Zealots, though, so it didn't throw away too much. Meanwhile, there is an Adept harassing for
the natural and the
but...
main game. There's been a lot of harass going on while that push on the third was happening.
Yeah,
I
those drones are all
in the main base. I'm not sure what how many drones have been lost up there, but
yeah, I don't think that many. Oh, 11, wow. Okay, yeah. I'm wrong on that. Yeah, really good Adept harassment, but
yeah, I mean,
Eris does clean it up.
The multitasking even fooled our observer. I was looking at the mini map. It's like that's a lot of blinking on all three bases going on.
Yeah, the Adepts have a lot of potential, and they are not an easy thing to program against, I imagine, because it's just like, how do you even go about handling that interaction? For now, though, we do have NegativeZero going for a poke. It's got a single Immortal joining up with his Zealots. It might be a bit of an odd timing. I'm not sure there's an Observer with this army, and all those Zealots went down. So NegativeZero got a little bit over-aggressive here, I think, because it's not exactly killing these roaches. They're just burrowing and staying alive.
Yeah, the lack of Observer has actually been a really big deal this entire time. Not only have the drones been keeping themselves alive, but so have the roaches. So
yeah, NegativeZero has produced some, I believe, but it just yeah, I'd be interested to see where those are right now, the observers. If we can click on them on the panel there and see. Okay, so one. Okay, looking to take another base. So that's
clearing out the burrowed ling.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've really liked. I'm not sure how new it is from the bot author of NegativeZero, but they have begun parking a Zealot, usually, or an Adept, I think it might be this game, on expansion locations that it wants to take, just to ensure that there will never be a burrowed Zergling there when it comes time to expand, so kind of trying to head that off a little bit. I'm a really big fan of that design change.
Yeah, even Observer keeping an eye on a unburrowed Zergling. It's like, just in case you decide to burrow.
Yeah, at that fifth base, though, NegativeZero actually did block its own fifth base expansion because it had the Adept shade towards it, and then the Zealot was in the way for a second, so it was going to build a fifth base, but it actually got delayed by that. So that's quite unfortunate. Another one of those little tedious things to program, like keeping the Zealot on the base is very important, but then you gotta move it off to actually get up the expansion. So we'll see if it reattempts that or not sometime soon. NegativeZero right now is producing 3 Immortals at a time. It's already going up to +3 attack, and now looking to strike Eris's 5th or 6th base. It does have the Immortals, got the sentries, and we'll see if it can take a fight. I'm not sure all of its army is here, but it's gonna give it a shot. Again, though, I'm not sure there's an observer with this army. Okay, Oracle comes in to drop a revelation.
Yeah, that's something. Didn't catch a whole lot of units, but that's okay. At least there's targets that can definitely be shot at, is all that matters.
Yeah, look at all that Zerg, though.
That is a lot of Zerg, and these units are getting kind of cornered down in the base there.
Yeah,
even
that is a lot of
Messers in the
Eris.
back are going to give some nice assistance.
NegativeZero not having that base up because it got blocked earlier definitely could have effects later in the game. Who knows, maybe it would have had a better chance fighting on top of that base. The Zerg is now pushing on in. Great fungal growths going down for Eris. At the same time, the battery overcharge is being used by NegativeZero to keep those units at a nice level of shields. And Eris kind of maybe overextends a little bit, as this is giving NegativeZero a much better trade.
Yeah, very good trade for NegativeZero. I have noticed NegativeZero builds a lot more batteries and cannons at his bases now. Even built some SimCity with gateways in front, so those Ling harassments aren't as deadly as they once were. Getting caught in the choke
that-
point himself now this time, though, so now it went from a bad fight for Eris to a bad fight for NegativeZero. Batteries are probably dried up in the background as well.
Oh, now
First
we've got
disruptor
disruptors.
the field, though.
And there's the Nova. How well does Eris split? It retreats, but it does not split, so it actually loses a couple Hydras to that disruptor, so good to see them getting some value. The Protoss, meanwhile, is at 160 supply to Eris's 168, so it's actually really neck and neck right now. And NegativeZero moves forward, cleans up that burrowed Zergling, pushes back the creep. We'll see if it can get up that 5th base expansion, because that's very, very important.
One Colossus on the field. I do love Colossus with bots. Their ability to just constantly kite at that 10 or 11 range, whatever the heck those things are, is really insane. But 9 range, right? I can't even remember what the Colossus are. But yeah, sometimes those Colossus will just survive for like 5 or 6 battles and end up with like kill counts with insane numbers on them.
Yeah, they're not a they're a very good tool for Protoss, and it's kind of just convenient as Protoss because it's like, oh, I'm making Immortals, but now I'm making Colossus, and you can just alternate between them and build a really nice army. NegativeZero is trying to Sorry.
I do like the response out of Eris though. He's adding in Corruptors and he's adding in Vipers once he saw the Colossi, so
yeah,
they won't be getting those gigantic kill counts as I expected.
Yeah, there's not a lot that catches Eris off guard as far as compositions or anything. It's an incredibly well-rounded bot, and things could be getting a little dicey for NegativeZero as we do see Broodlords on the way for Eris, and this is something that I think NegativeZero has struggled with a little bit in the past, but we'll see. Maybe it can get an attack off or something prior to the Broodlords pinning it down.
Yeah, it does appear like he's going to be getting his 5th base up though, which is something that was going to become an issue pretty soon. But yeah, with that new base down, NegativeZero has a nice forward position. Especially if he gets up cannons and batteries there, it'll be really great for him.
It's really good to see that. We've got NegativeZero cleaning up creep, catching quite a few of Eris's units actually, so that as Eris was just sort of trying to, I guess, defend at this expansion, but NegativeZero actually had a really nice surround as it came behind this army. There's now 1 Broodlord there, however, Stalkers are trying to get on top of it. We'll see if it can, because NegativeZero has got a 40 supply lead right now. The trades have really gone in its favor for the past few minutes, and if it can push, it could potentially get a few bases or some really good damage done.
Yeah, and pushing is what he's doing. He's not taking his foot off the pedal. He's getting a little bit split up, losing a Colossus there, but yeah, not really getting a lot with this advantage here. I was thinking he might be able to take that forward base of Eris, which would really cripple him. And now he's going.
It is disrupting mining, and yeah, it will get that base. Meanwhile, I think it also got that southern 12 o'clock base as well, just a little to the right and up. So I think NegativeZero, like when it attacks in multiple locations, because its army control is so good, it does really well. And I think Eris has hit the tipping point at this. Now it's at 120 supply, and it just can't keep up with the trades that NegativeZero is forcing it to take.
Yeah, 3 times the army supply for NegativeZero. Just not giving any opportunity for Eris to like rebuild any sort of composition. Units are like trickling out and dying from these hatchery positions. And normally NegativeZero being split up is a bad thing, but now it's just meaning that, you know, Eris is anything that spawns is getting killed, which is amazing.
Yeah, there's not a lot of coming back against a maxed out NegativeZero.
Yeah, nice composition. I love the Robo Stalker focus. And it was having some trouble with detection early on, but then later on, like the observers are getting out there, and plus the inclusion of Revelation really made that burrow not so powerful, which is often one of the best weapons that Zerg has.
Yeah, it's really easy to point fingers like, oh, the bot author needs detection there, but at the same time, like, they did have an observer where they were going to expand next. That's an understandable priority. So it's not the end of the world, but really well
it was
done by
definitely
NegativeZero.
wasn't the production that was the problem. He was producing enough observers. It was just like, you know, priority of where they need to be, I guess.
Oh yeah, that was a fun game for game 1 anyway. Yeah,
very impressive.
I know NegativeZero. I mean, I'd almost call it a comeback because he was kind of behind earlier, and yeah, it's great to see him come back and take the game to Eris. Not many bots can do that.
Yeah, really, really well done. I was a bit worried with it delaying its 5th base just by that unfortunate like Zealot and Adept block, but didn't really matter. It eventually got it up again, and it was a great game number 1 between these two.
All right. Well, let's take a look at game number 2.
All right, down 1-0. It is the red Zerg spawning this time on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, NegativeZero will be spawning in the bottom left. So we have seen this in the past where it's very rare for someone to get Eris's number, but when someone does get the advantage in the macro games, Eris is capable of pulling out the snipes and the cheese and the tricky builds, we'll say. So I'm not sure if this will be the case here, but so far, so normal for Eris as he goes for his hatchery first build. And once again, NegativeZero starts by walling off at his natural.
Yeah, that was a great macro game from NegativeZero. At the same time, the maps can really have big effects on how those macro games go. So, like, Automaton might not be as easy of a road to macro up because the bases are more spread out. Eris, like, NegativeZero won't be able to push in as easily. So
a lot of wide open space as well. So if NegativeZero goes for those like Ling run bys, there's just lots of space to constantly be running around, flanking, trying to hit bases in the back.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's definitely one thing I noticed in the previous game. NegativeZero, I don't think ever built shield batteries at his expansions, and now he builds one shield battery, one cannon, and walls them in with like gateways and pylons and stuff. So Ling run bys are going to be well handled just by the stack defense alone.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, and we've seen like human play versus bots, like static defense is pretty strong versus bots.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a really great tool. Yeah, my microphone. I know Tom Test was saying in the chat, I'm using my travel mic right now. So if I do sound a little different or anything, that's why. But hopefully the quality's not too bad.
Yeah, it just suddenly got better. Not sure why, but
okay. I
had a bit of an echo in the room you're in. It wasn't bad, but
I did turn the echo down actually, so hopefully that makes it better.
Yeah. There you go. We do have some early pooling of Zerglings, which is that's different.
Yeah, that is
we got
actually
speed on the way and a lot of lings.
Oh man. I think you might have called it with us having a bit of a cheeky snipe.
Yeah, but I don't know if this is the answer he's looking for, because that's a good wall. We got a Zealot in the wall. I think there's even a probe waiting to do an emergency wall, if that's what I'm seeing there.
Wow.
I know Sharpball likes to do that by throwing down the shield battery at the last second if required.
NegativeZero did scout, but I think the probe either got sent home or got killed, so it doesn't have that big of a heads up that this is coming. No other units are producing right now. This is phenomenal by the developers of Eris. I love that they programmed this. Dirty Ling all in. But that battery, I think it will.
Yeah, the battery's going to finish in time, and he can overcharge it. Oh, man.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't break through this wall.
Oh, Lings are trying to push through. One got behind the Zealot, but not anymore.
The Zealot
was too far forward. Oh, that's disastrous for NegativeZero. Now it can't build the pylon.
Trying to do the emergency wall. He does get the wall up, but there's a lot of Lings inside. There's good surface area on those stalkers, and that battery's about to run out of power. Okay, it does get the overcharge. That should be able to clean up most of the... Should be able to clean up most of the Zerglings that are on the inside here.
Oh my gosh, that was so scary for NegativeZero, but I think it's gonna be fine now that it's got that emergency wall up, and yeah, just its army, like micro is so good that it is able to dispatch those Lings. Eris doesn't have like a big flood or anything behind this. It did transition fairly soon.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't a committal. We see another hatchery. No, we don't see another hatchery going down, but we do see a layer going down. So maybe it's going to transition into maybe a higher tech cheese to continue on.
Maybe, yeah. It did print the chat tag Eris versus Mass Stalker, so I'm not sure exactly what it wants in that situation. Really, really well done by NegativeZero's developer, though. A bit scary with that Zealot just being out of range of the battery, but it worked out okay in the end.
Yeah. Okay, so still no third hatchery. We do have another gas being taken. And we have a drone
Oh, a
looking to build
Spire.
a Spire. Okay, interesting. So
Two-base
Muta.
Muta. Yeah, that's not a build you really see in StarCraft anymore. So that's really, really cool by Eris. I mean, I don't know if it'll work versus NegativeZero. NegativeZero likes to build Stalkers and Phoenix, both which are good against mutas, but you never know. This could have big potential depending on the micro and harassment, that kind of thing.
It is still a powerful build on the ladder. Like, obviously the pros don't use it anymore because it's super all in. But it's one of those things, you catch your opponent and he doesn't have the defenses for a bunch of mutas, and those mutas get so much value. The unfortunate part of it is NegativeZero was defending with Stalkers, so it's not like he was building Zealots and Adepts to defend and
Yeah.
can get caught by air. But what's going on here? Oh, is this... Okay.
Okay, it snapped out of it.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to kill some Phantom unit. And
NegativeZero does have a bug with that sometimes, the bot author commented on.
And it's happening again.
Oh dear, that's...
Look at all the targeting
really unfortunate.
I don't think it's priority, whatever it thinks is there. Because when a single Zerg ran by, it went after it. So if the mutas arrive, I expect these Stalkers will snap out and go where they should.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, maybe it is like a Zergling or something dying out of sight, or I don't know. Like, I don't know if it killed one or not. That would be interesting to look into. But it is a bug that does sometimes affect NegativeZero, the Phantom units or buildings. Eris now has those mutas out. They are flying right over some of these Stalkers, though, so we'll see whether they're able to fight them or just go harass. Looks like the answer is to stay at home and try and help fight this.
Yeah, not really being decisive with those mutas. I don't mind that because I don't think that fight would have gone well for them. But now with a single Stalker on its own, it does fully engage. I like that. So yeah. I believe no mutas have gone down thus far, and now they're heading across to see if we can get some harassment damage done.
Yeah, NegativeZero is producing a Phoenix, so we're going to see how well that works as a counter. The mutas fly over that pylon. They do start hitting probes in the main. Look at that, though. Double battery has been built. That's going to save a lot of worker lives, as the mutas are just trying to target down these probes. And the Stalkers actually come into the main to push these away, so not huge damage getting done by Eris.
No, maybe get that battery finished off before they go. There we go. Okay, that's something at least. Means if they come back again, and that is a good angle to come back from. They'll come back to a missing battery.
We've got that third base of NegativeZero actually being taken at the gold. That's one of the cool things the bot author has programmed, prioritizing the gold on this map. So we'll see whether they can actually secure that and gain the benefit from it.
A little dangerous, though, with the Stalkers all in the main base.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a risky position to try and hold on.
Wonder how well the Phoenix can micro against these. Yeah, not quite staying in range of the mutas. Phoenix can outrange mutas, so it's there's the potential there for bots to like do constant damage to mutas and never actually get hit. But it's a very close position you got to keep.
Recall on the Phoenix, that's really cool to try and deal with the mutas. However, then the Phoenix
immediately
kind of go away for a second. Yeah, this is something that I kind of wish NegativeZero would do, is to, like, I've noticed that it does use Phoenix in quite a few games, but then it never does get anion pulse crystals. That gives Phoenix 2 more range. That, like, if you're building more than 5 Phoenix, it's kind of a good idea to get towards that. But we do actually have a fleet beacon on the way, so maybe it will. That would be really cool to see, I think.
Yeah, I'm guessing he probably wasn't planning to build Phoenix, but it's more of a response to the Mutalisks.
It does build them in regular games without mutas sometimes. Like, I think it builds them to support Colossus sometimes, but that is a really great find with the mutas. Probes for NegativeZero, unfortunately pathing right towards Eris's base as the mutas chase them.
Yeah, that forward position is a little risky and kind of paying the price for it right now. However, there are enough Phoenix now that where they're not afraid of the mutas, I don't think. So even though they don't like to hang out just outside of range, I think they'll like fully engage now.
Yeah, that's good to see. Now, Eris has been transitioning behind this. Like, it made its batch of mutas, and then it started going into roaches. It's now producing hydras. NegativeZero, meanwhile, is struggling to maintain a great economy due to that harassment that hit that gold base hard. Currently 58 workers to 89, which is Eris pretty much being in its happy place with that many workers.
Yeah, Eris not committing hard to either of these all-ins, the 2-base muta or the Ling Flood, so it's working out well for him now. There's definitely enough Phoenix that these mutas their days are completely numbered, but has it done enough? Is Eris just too far ahead at this point? You can see on the mini-map up to taking a 6th base. Meanwhile, NegativeZero struggling to get his 4th going. Yeah, it's not like these mutas are dying fast either. They're being super annoying for quite a while.
The ground army of Eris is just going to be monstrous compared to what NegativeZero has. Like, I think okay, it's got 1 immortal out, and it's going to be adding more in, but like it's very behind on the immortal production compared to what it usually likes.
Yeah, but he's also up against a lot more Lings, so I don't mind the fact that he has like a few more adepts and less stalkers and immortals.
Yeah. It really is just incredible, though, the programming of NegativeZero to have these Phoenix hunt down these mutas. They're doing it quite cleanly. I mean, the same goes for Eris with their programming to keep those mutas harassing and being active as long as possible, even against a high Phoenix count. The Phoenix, though, are starting to get some counter-harassment. Now they're freed from Mutalisk duty, so they are lifting up drones. They're even going to lift up a Queen. We'll see if they retreat. Now the Hydras are rolling up. They actually get that Queen. Unfortunately, a fungal growth connects with them, which is going to ensure the deaths of quite a few. And they are actually still trying to lift up drones, despite the presence of Hydras being so close.
Yeah, I would have liked some priority on lifting the Hydras themselves. Not only do Hydras shoot back, but they're also light units, so they die very quickly to Phoenix. Either that or just flat out to retreat, because fungal with a lot of Hydras.
It's looking pretty scary right now for NegativeZero as Eris is pushing into that gold base. We have a recall go down by NegativeZero to bring like a zealot and an observer to help defend. I mean, we'll see whether NegativeZero can use Defender's advantage to maybe bring down this army, but Eris is rallying more and more units across the map, and the Protoss is just starting to get up Colossus now, but like it needs Colossus already. It needs some in hand.
He definitely was not ready for this mass switch into Roaches and Hydras. Still kind of stuck on the Phoenix Adept composition with just a handful of Immortals and powering through here. It's a good amount of stack defense. Maybe if we get some lifts to go along with these.
Yeah, units coming from behind, sort of setting up a nice little surround. NegativeZero is down 70 supply compared to Eris, though. A Disruptor shoots out a shot, and we actually have a Colossus in the main base. It looks like maybe stuck, or just having some odd pathing. So that's doing a bit of a dance there, which isn't ideal.
Yeah, I don't think you can walk over that. No, can't remember. Can you walk over that wall? I don't play this map.
That's a Reaper cliff, I believe.
Is it? Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
so the Colossus does eventually figure it out. Unfortunately, yeah, NegativeZero is still down a lot of supply compared to its opponent. Defender's advantage is going to have to do a lot of work right now. The Colossus is getting swipes off on these roaches. However, mining's being disrupted at the third of or the fourth base of NegativeZero. Like, it's so close to dying if Eris concentrated and went for an attack right now, but it's staying alive, taking just sort of trickle trades, which is best case scenario for the Protoss. However, now we've got Corruptors coming in, hunting down that Colossus, and Phoenix are coming in to try and help out, but that Colossus is long dead before they're able to do anything about it.
Yeah, I don't mind this though. Like 2 minutes ago, it looked like NegativeZero was completely dead, and now it's like, okay, he's like barely staying alive, but he's still staying alive. Then we got 5th base going up in the background.
Yeah, just barely. Like, these two Immortals, like, if they go down, that could potentially be the start of a snowball for Eris. It's NegativeZero just barely has enough units to mount a resistance here. A Fungal Growth almost kills one of the Immortals. The Disruptor does send the Roaches packing for critical seconds, though. However, one of those Immortals does perish. That's definitely painful for the Protoss bot. There's also no cannons, no batteries at the space it's fighting on, so it doesn't really have that advantage.
Yeah, just barely hanging in there. Army supply looks like it's doubled now for Eris over NegativeZero. But there still is a good economy for now. If he just needs to get control somehow. Here comes another Colossus, that may help.
Yeah, it needs to get over that bump or even abandon the base, potentially. We'll see if it gets that other base established and successfully mining at the 6 o'clock position, as it did manage to construct that. However, now it's backing up. NegativeZero will be defending on this wall with a battery to help out as Eris pushes on in. Abduct on the Disruptor brings it to the high ground, but it still goes down.
Yeah, kind of the Corruptors are kind of done now, so now the Colossus can get in there and do its maximum amount of swipes, which is going to be great versus Hydralisk. Once again, bonus to late. Shield battery overcharge has been completed, finished off, and then a really good fungal.
Yeah, NegativeZero has fallen below the 120 supply mark, so things seem to gradually be getting worse, not better, unfortunately. So it's just in a very, very rough position. And that's the scary thing about Eris. Like, if it hits 90 drones and maxes out, like, it will not stop attacking until you've either harassed its economy or till its opponent's dead. That's just the Eris thing.
Yeah. It's almost a reverse of last game where there's giving no opportunity to rebuild an army supply. NegativeZero, I think, is taking a slightly better defensive stance, so he's not trickling units away, but still, with this much aggression, you just can't get the army supply back up against a bigger economy.
There's the Corruptors going to be getting the kill. Really well done. And yeah, that is just a great game by Eris. Like, really cool. Having a Ling Flood attempt into Mutalisk and then just a solid macro game.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Phoenix. I love the Phoenix micro by NegativeZero. Even like the decision making on when to lift units was pretty good. But continuing to build Phoenix all game long, even after the Mutas was gone, is a little, I don't know. I feel like that money probably could have been spent a little better on just more Stalkers or even Void Rays to deal with the Corruptors. I'm not sure what the Phoenix were meant to counter at that point in the game. Because it was on a knife's edge whether NegativeZero could come back into this game. You needed like one solid hold, and then he had the economy to really get back into it. But he never really got that solid hold. He had a couple like okay ones that kept him alive, but not an overwhelming victory.
Yeah, and we have ourselves a series.
We do,
It's gonna be fun,
that.
No, I did love the Ling Flood. I love a little bit of cheese from Eris. It's always good to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, if that Zealot was standing like one cell back, then there would be no surface area for the Zerglings. The shield battery would have been in range. That could have been completely stuffed. Not that it did a lot of damage anyways, but could have been better even.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool that NegativeZero did take that gold base that game, but maybe it's not the right decision against Eris, because like that base was so far forward and tough for NegativeZero to defend. Eris is just so aggressive that you want your bases as far back as possible, I guess. So maybe that was a pivotal moment in that game, having mining be disrupted there.
Definitely. And it's one thing taking a vulnerable forward base when you're ahead, but doing so when you have half the army supply of your opponent and you're being, you being harassed in the back of your main by mutas while there's units coming like way to your forward base that's a gold. It's really hard to defend both those places.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
All right, well, let's take a look at our third game.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you watching, make sure to follow the Twitch channel and click that like button. And if you do want to learn more about bots or programming bots, Sc2Ai.net has all the info for you.
Awesome. Love the plug. All right, let's go.
Yeah, it's actually a great community of bot authors. So on that link, there's a link to the Discord, and you'll find a lot of friendly people there. There's even been people who learned how to code through building a bot. So
Yeah,
it's interesting.
yeah, it's a great project if you want to learn. So
That's actually what I did. I hadn't coded for like over a decade, and I did this as like a project, and now I'm working as a developer. So it's a good
cool.
career, yeah, for me.
Well done.
Yeah, so we do have a hatchery first, once again out of Eris. And as we learned from the last two games, that doesn't mean anything. It could be, it could be completely different strategies based on those two openers. I would suspect that if Eris won previously with that strategy, he might try it again.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe he'll be mixing it up a lot throughout the series. Sometimes you want to stay a step ahead of your opponent too. Like, because if you beat your opponent, you have to expect that he may try something different. So then, you know, you do something different as well. You can try to, like in these best of series, just try to be like one step ahead in terms of build order choices.
Yeah, the mind games are real. That's for sure.
Interesting wall off. I think he's going to be walling. Okay, right across from the rocks all the way to that lip. It is kind of a weird map, right? You can wall off with like two structures, but that only walls the ramp. There's still, you can still enter through the side coming from the third base. So do you want to do like the quick and easy wall, or do you want to do that long wall, or you could even do both?
Yeah, and you can take it kind of as far as you want, because the right of the third base is fairly wallable as well, and then you get that really can lock down your third too with gateways and that kind of thing of your Protoss. So there definitely is options for that. We do have Eris once again building a good number of lings, so it might be trying its luck at this build again.
Yeah, and this is going to be a tough map to defend on. Like I said, that wall off is much larger than on the previous map, so it's going to require another structure to finish it off. He also has a zealot stuffed between a structure and the destructible rocks, and destructible rocks are not squares, so there's very limited space where you're actually blocking the lings, and then they'll be able to slip by you.
Yeah, we'll see, because there is also that like 4 hex hole in the wall for -0.
Yeah,
So it's going to need a pylon or something.
It definitely requires another structure there.
Okay, a battery.
And here comes the
Was
ling
it a
plug.
battery that plugged the gap, maybe?
Yeah, it looks as on the mini map. Looks like something plugged it.
Okay, that Zealot and Stalker are gonna be frantically praying that battery finishes up. The Zealot does step out though for a second. Now they pull back, so maybe that's like a check on -0 if it has a certain, or if it sees a certain number of lings that it like goes into hold position. As we do have that battery being worked on, however, well, it finishes up. Unfortunately, it's vulnerable at the front.
Yeah. Battery cannot heal itself, and this is the problem with this wall. Oof, it does have a lot of hit points, so it took a while to get through, but there's only one stalker dealing damage in the background, and this is just going to be devastating for -0.
Yeah, this is quite painful. Now, the Stalker micro is great to keep them alive and trade fairly well against the lings, but there simply is so many lings for Eris. The one light at the end of the tunnel may be that Eris is transitioning, but I think it may just be dead, actually.
Yeah. There's only so much micro you can do against speedlings as well. They're just so much faster.
That's true, yeah.
You can keep from getting surrounded for a little while, but that's about it. We do have one last unit coming out. Here comes a Stalker, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, that's a tough loss for -0. On them, it's a great choice for Eris that the bot authors had this build run on this map against the wall of -0, but
yeah,
really well done.
Yeah, so it's just tough. I mean, that battery was meant to be in the back to assist, but it ended up having to be part of the wall, and of course, it's the most vulnerable part of the wall as well.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Eris trying to keep us on schedule, guys. Yeah, no, that was devastating. I always feel the pain when I see that many lings flood across the map. Everyone knows that pain.
Yeah. Kind of surprised he actually brought that build against NegativeZero, because it looks like NegativeZero has everything he requires to beat it. You know, typically.
Yeah.
He would have the wall with the Zealot. He has the ability to build an emergency pylon to wall it off, and then he has a shield battery that's finishing right at that moment as well.
Yeah.
It did look like Eris was also building into the mutas once again behind that. At least had a lair started. So maybe they've realized that's like a good 1-2 punch strategy for NegativeZero.
Yeah. All right. Well, Eris on match point here. Hopefully, well, see, maybe NegativeZero can punch back, give us a best of 5, which would be amazing. All right, let's take a look.
Okay, spawning up in the top left, looking to close out the series. It is the red bot Eris. Meanwhile, in the bottom right, we have NegativeZero as the blue Protoss. Yeah, so maybe one little edge case that Mind Me can work on is that Zealot micro when it's on walling duties. Probably don't want it to step out when it's.
No, you don't.
Obviously, if there's roaches out there, step out is fine. But when it's only melee units, you probably want to really stay in that wall.
Yeah, like he did eventually tuck it in, and so like, it didn't really let any lings by. So like it seems to have the good behavior that it needs. That the Zealot stepped out, and then it saw more lings and was like, "Oh, I gotta get back in there."
Yeah, well, actually, it stepped out and got completely surrounded, right? But there was an emergency pylon in time, so that didn't end up being the vulnerability. But still, maybe that emergency pylon made one of the gateways go idle. Maybe that Zealot would have gotten like 3 or 4 more Zergling kills. You never know. These little things can matter in situations like that.
Yeah, my mistake if I didn't catch that it was surrounded there. That is a very important detail. And now we've got NegativeZero saying it's actually up against a Speedling rush this time in chat, which is interesting.
Yeah, so maybe he saw the and the API does tell you if a enemy structure is active. So maybe he saw the
speed researching.
Yeah, or you don't know what it is, but probably not going to be cracklings on the hatchery tech, so it's almost certainly speedlings.
Yeah, and then seeing that there's maybe no drones being built. Yeah, can like chat tags are, because the game runs from the perspective of one of the bots, right? Am I wrong? Just because like I know sometimes we see chat tags and sometimes we don't.
Yeah, it depends if they're doing allied chat or chatting to everyone in the game as well. If they're chatting to everyone, it doesn't matter which side we're seeing the replay from. We'll see that chat tag. Okay. Some people just do. Some people do the chat tags just chatting to themselves, basically, because you don't want to spam the opponent.
Right.
In which case it matters which replay we got, whether it's Eris's replay or NegativeZero's. Much better setup this time. We got the Zealots further back in the wall. We do have the shield barrier, which should be up in time. And here comes the Ling Fund once again.
Yeah, this looks like the makings of a much better hold. We'll keep an eye on that Zealot, see if it does step forward. But probe's there, battery's done. The battery's nice and close to that wall, too.
Yeah, much better wall. Probe does step away, however.
Okay, there's
and Zealot steps back. I love it. Okay, this is going to be so much. This is what we wanted to see in Game 1 and Game 2. Stock is not shooting as fast as they can, but shield battery's actually not healing anything.
The Zealot's not taking damage. It looks like the Lings are just trying to push through the wall. Yeah, they're clicking through the wall, hoping to get by the Zealot, but it's not happening.
Yeah, so this is just free damage. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was like, are they attacking the gateway? It's like, no, they're not attacking the gateway. Why is this battery not doing anything?
Yeah, so
because the Zealot's not actually being attacked.
Yeah, this is really, really nice for NegativeZero. It's got 5 Stalkers out, and the Zealot, it successfully holds that rush. We've got Eris going into a lair once again behind this, but like this was an even better hold, I think, than game number 2. Or
Definitely
game
better than
number
game
1.
2.
Game number 1, pardon
Oh,
me.
right, yeah. No, you're right. Game 1 was the macro game.
Game 2, yeah, the first game we saw the Ling into mutas.
Yeah, game 2, the Lings got in, so they probably got a stalker or two. I don't remember. The battery overcharge did make it limited, but yeah, this is literally 0 damage. He did force out another shield battery, which is something. There's still a probe that's not mining because he's afraid of a Ling flood coming again. But other than that, it's a really nice hold. The question is, how much will NegativeZero overreact to the defense, right?
That is.
If he doesn't throw down a third base for another 5 minutes, then this will allow Eris to not only catch up, but maybe get ahead.
Yeah, well, we'll see if NegativeZero is going... Like, it does like its early game move-outs, and it's got a good number of units that it built, so if NegativeZero pushes out, like, Eris could be in a bit of trouble. So I actually, for NegativeZero's sake, hope it does push out to attack. Looks like we got that Zealot pathing towards the third base to ensure that's free to expand at. However, now the Stalkers are moving out. They're chasing the one Zerg. Like, this is something very annoying that Eris does. Even NegativeZero falls victim to the single Ling running away trap.
It's so annoying to deal with. Not only does there bird Lings to your base, but there's always these single Lings that are scouting you, and then there's later in the game there's speed overlords that are scouting you, which are equally as difficult to chase down. And if you don't have your bot coded well, you may end up having your entire armory like chasing after one dumb unit when you're trying to attack the Zerg opponent. Okay, not a lot of Lings here. Yeah.
Yeah, it does push out onto creep. It's got the Stalkers, the Void Ray in the sky, which can get free damage on Lings, even with Adept in tow, so a Queen will die.
Yeah, and this is like Void Rays and Stalkers, which means there's not much in the way of defense, and when the defense does come, it's going to be mutas, which, you know, Stalkers and Void Rays can do decent against.
Yeah, this timing is really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, a Void Ray does get picked off by the Queen, so good targeting by Eris, prioritizing those, it seems. But then, yeah, there's just no roaches, no Lings really being made. There's a few Lings coming down, but NegativeZero has got that great micro, pulling back the injured Stalker while the rest of them shoot.
Yeah, actually only 2 Mutalisks got made in their 600 gas in the bank because of this attack. Eris
no minerals,
got a bunch of emergency Zerglings. So he spent all of his minerals and larvae on Zerglings. And unfortunately the Zerglings are not enough to deal with these Stalkers. Lings are good versus Stalkers, but not in low numbers.
Yeah, NegativeZero looks like it may win this game. Just a quick little comment. NegativeZero actually has quite a significant gas bank itself, which may just be the bot author wanting as much gas because it's a Protoss bot, but that is quite a large bank. And we actually get a recall from NegativeZero. Oh man, why was that? Was there like an Overlord or a Muta? A single Muta forces a recall from NegativeZero.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, Eris is still on 14, 13 workers and losing more with only 3 army supplies, so I think NegativeZero is probably fine after that. But
yeah, and since it's only a single Muta, you know, it's not going to be... Phoenix aren't going to be afraid for a long time. First Phoenix came out and immediately dealt with it, so it's not going to be this like 6-minute distraction, which could have been something that got Eris back in the game, but distraction's immediately over.
Yeah,
and NegativeZero's coming back once more.
Great counter push by NegativeZero. That's just a really well programmed bot to not sit back and let Eris macro up. It's like the same thing if you're playing, well, in pro player games. Like if someone does economic damage to Serral or another good Zerg player, they got to end the game instead of sitting back.
Yeah. And the strongest timing is always when the Zerg is like pooling up gas and their Spire's like 3/4 of the way done, and then you arrive. It's like, what do they do? It's like, do they spend all their larvae on the units they can make, or do they wait and have nothing to defend and hope to get mutas out to deal with it afterwards? Eris decides to build a whole bunch of Zerglings and have no mutas, and it just didn't work out. Great push out in NegativeZero, and now we have this is the best of 5, right? So this is an ace match.
This is the ace match now. We have a 5-game series, guys. This is for our first semi-final. But yeah, what a game by NegativeZero. It was
Yeah, really, really great series.
yeah.
What will we get for game number 5?
I know.
Wow. I don't think Eris will pick out the Loom Flood again, so we might get something entirely new, which would be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a look.
Okay, final match. Spawning down in the bottom right, we have the red Zerg Eris. And in the top left, NegativeZero with the GLHF and the big heart.
Yeah, you gotta
Marco's
love
that's you.
that.
It's quite the series we've had here.
Uh,
I know Eris has like levels to his crazy builds too. Like there's like the tried and true builds that he's had before, and then you'll have just like this is a randomly untested thing which may or may not work. We've
yeah.
never seen Eris like or in previous iterations of Spiny just like have these builds that like will either crush an opponent or just be completely busted and not work properly at all. Or he may just go back to the game one strategy, like the Ling Flood didn't work, let me just go back to the good old tried and true macro game.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly wouldn't mind a macro game from Eris. Like, I think it wins more than it loses against NegativeZero. Like in a straight up macro match, but
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see. Both these bots speed mining away. For people who maybe don't watch a ton of bots, that's an advantage that pretty much any top level bot gets using the worker or manual commands on every worker, so they mine faster.
Yeah, if you select all the drones or all the probes, Crip, we can kind of see it in action. All these little movements. And if you look at the workers above the hatchery, it's like constantly jumping between 10 and 16 because to do the speed mining, you have to like stop mining for periods of time where you're doing movement commands.
Yeah, and that was...
It's all to remove the deceleration of arriving at the hatchery and arriving at the mineral patch.
Yeah, and that was actually first like discovered and implemented by Scarlet, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah, so that's very cool that someone who wasn't like, to my knowledge, like massively active in the botting community sort of came in, made a bot, and then discovered something so pivotal to bots these days.
Yeah, I always had the idea for it. You know which player did it the most was actually Flash back when he was a StarCraft 2 player.
Oh yeah.
He would always speed mine with like one worker. There's even a way to do it with the Marine, where you patrol a Marine against a mineral patch.
Oh,
they patched it out of the game, but that would also like remove the deceleration. So
Huh.
he had all these tricks, and whenever I saw that, I'm like, okay, he's doing it with one worker. It wouldn't be awesome if you could do it with every worker. And then when Scarlet did, I'm like, oh, you can actually do it in both directions as well. So it's like not only twice as good with one worker, but you can do it with every single worker all game long. Such a major advantage. You get like something like maybe an 8% boost. A couple Lings do get in here. You might end up getting a probe kill. It actually does and gets away without losing the Zergling.
Oh man, that's a nuisance for NegativeZero. That probe seems to be running towards the third base to get that up. But that could actually be delayed, and yeah, the Ling is delaying the third. Oh, the probe
actually
dies.
attack. The Zella went in swing.
That is such a nuisance. Another probe goes out, the Ling is pursuing it.
Yeah, I think he'll get it up this time, especially if he detours like that. Oh, the Zella almost made it get blocked. But this could be another probe going down.
You can kill that Ling probe. Turn and fight.
Okay, Adept does arrive. Oh, but the Shade brings it back.
And yeah, it looks like we're just having a regular macro game between these bots, which I am personally all here for.
Yeah, and I mean, like, NegativeZero won the first macro game, but we can already see this game's going better for Eris. I think there was 0 worker kills in the first macro game of game 1. Maybe there was 1. I think he sent out 2 Lings and lost them both without killing a single probe. So, 2 probes down at the beginning of the game. That's a really big deal. I'd rather lose like 20 workers at the 10-minute mark than lose 2 workers at the 3-minute mark.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and oh, another probe potentially dying to that Ling.
Oh, that survived.
Yeah, that's the
A lot of
scary thing about
zealot.
bots.
Yeah.
You can have each ling individually controlled and just harassing endlessly. The Adept for -0 is trying to get some counter damage done. However, a Queen is on it, so the Shade will complete it the natural, it looks like, but it may actually die.
Yeah, it's getting chased away no matter what, so it's probably not getting any kills. Oh, it does get out.
Oh, is there a Queen in the main? Okay, it actually went out, okay.
Getting the lead creep tumor, it's nice, and getting a drone as well.
Yeah, then those Adepts will shade towards the third, it looks like, so they may find some drones there. Forcing a burrow, that's really nice. It's so hard to track all this harassment that goes on in an early -0 Eris game. It's just, there's so much chaos going on with that, with the units being controlled. And now there's some in the natural, so trying to deny more mining time. The Shades allow the Adepts to get a lot of utility, as they can just shade, cancel shades, bounce around bases, and deny mining of Eris. Although Eris is just incredibly good that it is actually able to shut a lot of this down. We do have Zealots coming in for -0, going for an attack. However, there's Roaches out for the Zerg in order to defend this.
Yeah, slow zealots. I always say in the
well-
bot meta they don't even need to have their side blades turned on, because slow zealots are never going to hit anything that's not also a melee unit. They'll just be kited to their death by, you know, Marines, Roaches, whatever that happens.
These Adepts really do keep shading all over the place, trying to deny some mining time, but Eris is responding to this incredibly, incredibly well. Now,
Yeah, but it's a big deal though. You walk through a mineral line, you don't kill any drones, but they all burrowed for at least a period of time. That's probably like 50 minerals lost, so it's kind of like killing a drone.
it
in a way.
definitely is some value.
Yeah.
-0 is just shading out so many Adepts. I'm actually curious, how many Adepts have died this game, like, versus drones? 6 dead Adepts, 5 dead Zealots for 8 drones. That's not necessarily the best trade for the Protoss, but then again, there is that lost mining time too.
Yeah, I think it's good, but the amount of times I've seen like the entire drone line burrowing, I'm like, that's pretty good actually. And you can see like it's -0's economy is kicking, right? We got the 4th base being saturated, and we only have 5 bases for the Zerg, so that's a perfectly good spot for -0 to be in.
Yeah, the thing to watch, I think, for -0 is just how many Immortals it's able to get out. Like, once it hits like 3-4 Immortals, that's where -0 really is able to do work.
Yeah, I just saw like 4 Roaches and 8 Hydras on the production tab or something like that. So, will he get caught without the Stalker Immortal composition he needs to deal with that? Because if it's still just Zealots and Sentries and Adepts, that's not going to be good.
Well, this one Immortal also walks out onto the map, which is quite risky for this, and that is a big loss if it goes down for free. It's now kiting back. It actually does kill a Roach, so Eris not burrowing those. And this Immortal does escape by the skin of its teeth.
Yeah, and just watching as the economies are progressing, I kind of feel like Eris needs to like destroy a base at some point. Needs something to kind of like balloon into an advantage. Because I think this is kind of just going the way of game 1 so far.
Yeah,
mass Adepts or mass Oracles out on the field again.
Yeah,
It's nice to see Oracles getting so much use nowadays. They used to be like the meme
so
units in the
good.
bot scene. They're so bad, but now they're Sharkbot and -0 using them quite well.
Okay, -0 setting up, looking for a fight. It's got a really nice concave so far. Eris actually breaks down the rocks near its base, interestingly enough. All that Zerg is coming down. Beautiful fanning out on -0's army, but this is simply so much Zerg charging forward. There's Infestors in the back that are going to want to toss down fungal growths too. So -0 is trying to attack into a Zerg that's maxed out while only being at 156 supply itself.
Yeah, the initiation of that fight was great by Eris. There's a good concave for -0, but the whole fight took place on creep, so it didn't really mean much of anything. Nice use of Revelation, though. I have noticed some units were saved by Burrow and then ended up getting finished off because of Revelation.
Yeah,
But,
-0 does have really good Revelation, and this is where it seems fights do seem to turn in favor of the Protoss as the Zerg pushes out away from its base. As I say that, though, 2 Immortals, 3 Immortals, I think, go down.
Yeah, I mean,
not the best fight.
Army size advantage for Eris. There's still plenty of energy on those infestors. Is that a big disruptor hit I just missed? I think I heard the disruptor land.
I'm not sure there was a big connection there. There's a big disruptor shot from NegativeZero. Really well done. And the Zerg does maybe overcommit a little bit as NegativeZero manages to solidify a bit. The Protoss does have that 5th base building. It's also got or 5th base build. It's also got a 6th base building. So that's really important to have a bit of redundancy there as far as its economy is going.
Yeah, I thought that the 9 o'clock base was actually going down, but I still see it on the mini-map, so it looks like you might be able to establish that base and get those SAC defense up. Really liking the micro on these disruptor balls. Like, they're trying to chase units, but when they can't get to the clump, like the last second they'll deviate and just take the single unit.
Yeah.
You see so often with humans where they try to go into, like, to where the clump is and they end up doing nothing.
Greedy humans.
Yeah.
And now we see a fungal go down for Eris, catching some of the immortals. The Colossus does a good job retreating, as we do have those corruptors out, which are now a threat to that Colossus. But the batteries are so helpful to keep those Colossus alive.
Yeah, Stalker is helping take down those corruptors one at a time, very slowly. Those things have so many hit points, but in armor.
Do. Great fungal for Eris.
Yeah, the shield battery overcharge is just being the superhero in this fight here, keeping those Colossus from ever dying, and the Colossus are getting so much value shooting back.
NegativeZero is getting some really good trades as it's on the defense here. It's also gonna have, it also doesn't have blink yet, so its army's gonna get a lot better once all those stalkers have blink and can potentially finish off units or blink away from danger. So that will increase the strength of NegativeZero's army quite a bit. The Protoss is up to 160 supply now with a nice army. Eris elects to fall back.
Yeah, Eris is finally getting to the point where it's starting to look good. The shield batteries ran out of energy. The overcharge is gone. He took out a Colossus, but then he just didn't have any army left at that point. By the time he finally turned for him, he didn't have the army size anymore.
Oh yeah, and now it's pushing in again, but it doesn't seem to have that much supply, and actually takes a very poor fight with disruptors connecting and just not seemingly having the army supply present that it needs to take a good fight against what NegativeZero has.
Yeah, and much like with humans, like the disruptors may not be getting huge hits, but they're working really well as a zoning tool. The fact that Eris needs to keep pulling back in the middle of a fight is not something you want to be doing when you have like low range units like roaches and you're getting picked away at it with Colossus from range and stuff. Another Colossus may go down here. Oh no, he does lose the Corruptor, so he's gonna back off. And it looks like the top right base there is under threat.
Yeah, that's really nice for NegativeZero. Like, if Eris loses a base or takes a bit of damage, that's really where this sort of snowball can start. And we may actually be seeing that as Eris is down to 170 supply and just continuously not taking the best trades against NegativeZero. Pushing out now, kind of being baited into a fight out on the map where it loses so many more Hydras. Vipers are being sniped down. And yeah, Eris is just really tanked in supply.
Yeah, it's a really tough spot for the Zerg. I mean, you really want to force fights because, you know, just Zerg is just better at swarming and not so good at like the techie late game stuff. But at the same time, he has to take fights like in the middle of static defense and shield battery overcharge, and it's just he's losing his army size advantage every time he does that.
Yeah, NegativeZero has really done well with like all that static defense too, because at the external bases, because it means that harassment isn't as strong.
Yeah.
So
look at the mini map again too. It's like flashing at like all the forward bases of Eris. So there's even little harass runs going on. Single.
Yeah.
Immortal over here. You know, a couple zealots down the bottom left. Even the Matral base has something going on.
NegativeZero's army splitting is really just phenomenal. Controls all its units so well, and I don't see Eris coming back down 80 supply against NegativeZero.
Okay, I see one glitch in the disruptor micro. When there's no target to shoot, the ball just sits there. So the ball just sat on top of a couple stalkers and went boom, popped them both.
Oh dear, I didn't catch that. But fortunately, NegativeZero is far enough ahead that it would have to start killing all its own units intentionally to lose this one. And wow, after a bit of a rough start to the series, I guess. Well, I mean, after losing that Ling, Flood, and Muta game, it looked a little concerning. But NegativeZero able to bring it back in just a straight up macro game.
Wow.
Wow!
Well done.
Congratulations to
There's definitely an
NegativeZero.
advantage if, yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a
I
superb
mean, Eris has
series.
some nice extra builds and stuff, but if your bot loses in the straight up macro game, that's such a gigantic advantage for the other bots.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It like forces you to be the tricky one, and those tricks may not work.
Yeah, I think we
I still
have.
think Eris could win macro games versus NegativeZero. Like it was always like just need one fight to go well, and it just never did. NegativeZero just take a nice defensive stance.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like it's just like I think if it does sort of like start running over you, Eris just doesn't stop, and that's the thing. But like as soon as you stop it, that's when Eris starts to have problems. And but it's still incredible bot, and we will see it in the third place match in the finals week. But NegativeZero, congratulations, and I think we have to apologise for Dyson Returns and his pizza, which apparently went bust over the last game. Sorry, see you in chat, but never mind.
Yeah. I think those NegativeZero versus Eris games, like I think it kind of almost depends on which bot attacks too.
Yeah,
Because like sometimes NegativeZero steps out, loses too many units, and then Eris's counterattack does really well. Whereas then sometimes it's the opposite. Eris overextends, and then NegativeZero is able to eventually push out and win. So that's kind of an interesting meta there between the two bots. Because yeah,
yeah, definitely. All right.
Yeah, I was just looking for Eris to like take a big fight. If he could like fight NegativeZero out in the open and like surround and kill off some units, or if he could somehow kill off a base, then I think he would just be able to overwhelm the way Eris normally does. But yeah, in the
yeah,
game 1 and game 5, just NegativeZero just didn't do that. Sometimes he kind of got spread out in the open, but then when the major fight happens, it was back at his base with a nice concave, shield battery overcharge helping
yeah.
out. And it's just
There's no
and then
there's
just
no way.
Eris loses his army advantage, and then it's like disruptors and colossi versus roaches and hydras, and it's like, nah.
Yeah,
That's
you
not gonna
cannot
work.
take a good fight with like you just can't take a good fight with against batteries like battery overcharge as the Zerg. Um,
Oh,
so
definitely.
yeah, it would be interesting to see because like Eris also makes broodlords sometimes, and they seem to do quite well against NegativeZero, as they are
Yeah.
rather tricky to program good army management against. So
Yeah, I think Eris did build like a couple of broodlords in the first game, didn't he? And then
it did,
they got
yeah.
sniped down pretty quickly, unfortunately. But yeah. All right. Well, anyway, we'll see that NegativeZero in the final. But let's take a look at who he will be facing. And
All right.
first up in the other semi-final is Zozo. Only lost against so both of our semi-finals are rematches from the group stage, but obviously one we've had the reverse result. Don't know if we're going to have the same here, but yeah, perfect record.
Was this
apart
a
from that.
series where they were like countering the counter of the counter? Do
Yes,
you
pretty
remember
much.
that where like
Yeah.
the one guy was like countering the cheese he expected, and then the other person expected that counter, so he did a different type of cheese. Like, we could see this even more levels now if they're
Oh,
rematching after an update.
it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
And obviously,
Zozo and Xena are two very, very fun to watch bots, so I'm
remember
ready
if it
for
was-
the chaos.
Maybe it was Sharkbot. I can't remember.
yeah.
But
I think it was Sharkbot.
Yeah, I think it
but,
was last week against Sharkbot, wasn't it? When we had
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. But Xena,
But it's always fun with Xena because it's a random bot.
yeah,
Every game's guaranteed to be different almost. Except for versus Tom Test, where he always wants a Zerg for some reason.
that was a fun one. But yeah,
Yeah.
so Xena also completely undefeated. Came through a quarterfinal against Tom Test. But yeah, it should be some really fun games. One thing's for certain, I'm not expecting long ones, but we'll see.
We'll see. You never know. If your cheese fails, you got no choice but to macro sometimes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say macro games are like the forte of either of these bots. Xena, we've seen, can definitely macro when he has to. Zozo, I obviously again probably can macro quite well if he has to, but prefers not to. Anyway,
Yeah. He macros on ladder, so that's definitely something he's, I think, probably actively working on his bots. It's probably not going to be strong because it's new. Obviously, he hasn't had a lot of history with that, but the option's there. So especially someone like Xena might just like, let me just do like the greatest cheese defense ever and try to survive that way. And then if you play macro versus a bot who's doing that, then you can get a gigantic advantage.
all right.
Yeah, I think Xena did have really great cheese defense last time it played Zozo, so we'll see whether Zozo has abandoned that cheese as a result of that.
All right, let's go.
Okay, Cheese Master himself with one probe exiting the main base. It is the red Protoss Zozo in the bottom right here. Meanwhile, in the top left, where that probe is heading, it is the blue Terran Xena, the blue random bot Xena, who spawned as Terran.
Yeah. Tom Test is like, come on, why is it rolling rolling Terran now?
Yeah, I think that was the one race that Tom Test was confident against with Xena.
Oh, look at that.
Probe actually going to be chasing the SCV, which is interesting.
Yeah, Xena is building a gateway at home, and look at this beautiful scout following that proxy, and actually going to be able to attack that probe. Great.
Yeah, not only catching the one SCV, but going to be spotting the second SCV as well.
Oh my gosh, this is such a good shutdown by Zozo.
Yeah, I wonder if Zozo was even planning to be aggressive with that probe, or whether it was just to like figure out what race I'm up against and maybe follow the
I think it was just a
the
scout.
proxies. Yeah.
Because like it was already building a gateway at home. So yeah, no crazy rush. But man, now Xena's just got programming to send out one more SCV to resume the racks, but it's not gonna happen.
We're on the branch of the tree where there's no code basically for it. It's like when you do a proxy build, you always expect the proxy to get up. You don't really you don't really code anything for if it doesn't, because you're probably dead anyways. So it looks like the reaction is just to send new SCVs. It would almost be good for Xena if these barracks get cancelled or get killed, because then he'll probably snap out of it. But as long as these structures exist, he'll be sending SCVs across the map and hoping to complete them.
Yeah,
meanwhile, Zozo taking
timeout or something, but it's not.
Well, I think a timeout will be it dying to the probes. That's what I'm expecting. Like, once it gets that under 10%, then Xena will probably cancel it. There you go.
Okay, canceled and building a new racks at home.
Yeah.
Or no, actually, it's not yet. That's just the other racks that's paused, being attacked by the probe still. So Xena isn't building anything else.
Yeah.
Just sending out more SCVs.
Zozo's definitely one of those active ladders who will look for the snipe. So if Xena's like picking what works for him on the ladder, I'm almost certain that Zozo will have something planned for whatever the builds are that work for him on the ladder. Probe's heading back to mine. They do have a natural base almost complete, or it is complete now. And yeah, in a really good spot. Meanwhile, we do have a CC out of Xena. I do like that response.
Yeah, it still hasn't started a racks though.
Yeah, but I mean, you're so far behind, you gotta try to get back in the game somehow, either with a crazy second all-in, or I wouldn't even mind something as crazy as throwing down 2 command centers before building your barracks. Like, you gotta do something to get back in the game. You gotta take some sort of risk.
Yeah, it like, I don't know, Xena may just be stuck here.
Yeah, it might also be broken. We may not ever see a barracks.
It's had over 400 minerals for like the past 30 seconds now. It's not building a racks or a new command center. It may snap out of it once this command center finishes, but like for the past, I don't know, basically since this cheese failed, it's been in a position that if Zozo sent its Zealot and Stalker across the map, it would probably just win the game. So it's very lucky that Zozo hasn't done that. It's still Xena, yeah. It's just not building anything.
Yeah. So it's stuck at the bottom of its tech tree. It is expected those barracks to exist, to continue on its tech tree, and they don't. And yeah, we're going to see gas, we're going to see SCVs, we're going to see command centers. I don't think we're going to see anything else besides those three things, because it is tech tree blocked.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Xena. It's honestly something we don't see too often out of Xena, like it breaking this bad.
Yeah, actually, Xena has one of the most advanced build order systems. Like, it's not even a build order; it's like a priorities, and it has this really crazy system to work through it. So, if there's any bot that I expected not for this not to happen to, it would have been Xena.
Yeah. Okay, and then it just dies, unfortunately.
Yeah. SCVs alone cannot do the trick.
Yeah, a bit of a bummer, because who knows? Zozo did give Xena a bit of time to transition out of that, so maybe like if it had built a new barracks or two and then got a bunker up, maybe it could have held that. But well done by Zozo. Great snipe, or just great handling of proxies.
Yeah, I would just call that a classic Zozo game. You know, whatever you're going to see, it's going to be dirty.
Yeah, it's just finding that proxy, I think, would have been death to Xena anyway in a lot of scenarios. So, you know, it's yeah.
Leading the probe to the other SCV as well didn't help.
Yeah, maybe not. All right, let's see if
there could have been some luck there. The barracks were built beside each other, so there's always that 1 in 4 chance the SCV's in a spot that the probes can't get to.
Yeah,
but no luck on the bouncing.
All right, let's see if we can converse it in game number 2.
That's the beauty of Xena. Game 2 will not be the same as game number 1.
Yep, spawning as Protoss this time, so it's going to be PvP. Zozo will be the red Protoss down in the bottom right, and Xena as the random bot spawning as Protoss in blue in the top left. Yeah, bouncing SCVs is something I don't think any bot author has done yet. Obviously, that's something you can try to do to keep your SCV alive, is just take it off the structure and put it back on and hope that it bounces to a better position.
Who did I see the other day? Oh, a bot was doing that. One of the Terrans. Maybe it was Benbot? Or I almost want to go back and check now, because yeah, one of the bots did actually reposition their SCVs to finish a command center that was being cannoned or something.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, the other thing is you can just go on like one side of a command center, like say one corner of the command center is safe from the cannon, and you just constantly go on and off, on and off, on and off, and stay in that corner.
Yeah.
You build it like half speed, but you'll never jump to the side that's in range of the cannon. Zozo being chased around by a single probe. Meanwhile, Zozo is loading up on a 1 base opener. 2 gates, 1 cyber core. Zozo with a forge, interestingly enough. Looks like he'll be going for a 1 base defense. So back in like the early days of bots, there's basically 2 things bots did. They either tried to play a long macro game, so they're vulnerable to cheese, or they would do cheese themselves. And a nice solution to both of those things was just to do a defensive 1 base build.
Yeah.
So that way you can handle the cheese, and at the same time you're taking up to something, you know, really fast, like mass void ray or something. You can go kill the macro bots with your own cheese. And that might be what we're seeing here. So I think we're going to see like cannons and batteries and void rays, and that's all we're going to see out of Zozo. And it's not as dumb as it sounds. It's actually really strong. But Zozo, or sorry, I'm getting mixed up. No, Xena's the one doing the mass void rays, and Zozo is doing a defensive build himself almost, it looks like.
Well, Xena's building the Tempest, I think. And the cannons and batteries it's building are just surplus minerals because you're short on gas when you one base like this.
Yeah,
which is something I actually really, really love because like other bots that go for Tempest rushes, they don't spend that extra minerals and they'll have like 1,000 minerals in the bank and doing nothing. Whereas Xena spends that money, which is very cool to see. I also did go back and check which Terran bot it was that did that cool SCV micro to prevent it pathing into a threat, and it was actually Benbot, yeah, that actually has that behavior built into it.
Ah, cool. Never knew that. Yeah, Benbot's author, Lazier, is very silent. He doesn't. He speaks like maybe once a year on on Discord. So you think he's inactive, but then Benbot just keeps slowly getting better and better. So
yeah. I always check the updated bot page when deciding what to cast, and then I'm like, oh, Benbot got updated.
Oh,
yeah.
nice. So this looks like a kind of a build order victory for Xena almost, because I would imagine, you know, players beat Mortals, right?
Well, it's gonna be Tempest.
Just straight to Tempest. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
then
works.
Zozo will have like 10 stalkers against Tempest and a Prism, so it's gonna depend whether Zozo tries to like push up this ramp or catches a Tempest out on the map. Like, I have no idea how this is gonna work out. Like, it's gonna be one Tempest against 10 stalkers or so.
Yeah, I vaguely remember seeing, I think maybe even this exact game before, where like there was like one Protoss was like going through like layers of cannons, like slowly killing off the entire base, while Tempests are in the back, like trying to get the game back under control.
Yeah. Okay,
these Tempests are kind of caught out in the open here, though. They need to find some terrain to fall behind, otherwise they're gonna get killed off. Little sight blocker there helps a little bit, but it's not doing a shooting retreat, which in this case I think is actually good, because I don't think he would have made it back home otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. It will make it to that battery though, which is cool programming on Xena. Like, it likes to pull the Tempest back to safety if it realizes it can't push. The Tempest starts shooting. The cannons are massively helpful. Battery overcharge to keep that gateway alive and soaking damage, while these Tempests will be putting out damage.
But Zozo's not attacking correctly. He's just kind of wiggling on the...
Yeah, I'm guessing it's trying to hit the Tempest maybe, but then pads to the cannons, and it's like, wait, I can't go up there.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly what's happening. Trying to prioritize the Tempest, and just then he gets some range of the cannon and backs up, and then he tries to prioritize the Tempest again. Yeah, that was about as one-sided as the fight could possibly be. We do have an expansion coming from Zozo, though, so that's one slight advantage he'll have.
Okay,
Stalkers stayed on one base, it wouldn't have been good.
The Tempest on the map again, but then beautiful fanning out by Xena.
Yeah, and this time he is doing a fighting retreat, and it's also the correct decision, because he has the numbers this time.
Yeah. Xena has an expansion on the way up behind this. Just churning out one Tempest at a time, so that count is going to grow and grow and grow. Zozo, meanwhile, is just producing 2 Stalkers and an Immortal at a time. So building Immortals against a Tempest all-in isn't great. So
it's going to be a slow death, but this is definitely going to be a death. I don't see any way for Zozo to get out of this. He does have some Stalkers, but you just too much terrain blocker near here. Like, oh my, even got the upgrade on the Tempest now, so it's not going to be as slow of a death as I thought, as they do. Was an additional 100% damage or 70%? Some crazy
it's
DPS
so much
increase
damage,
structures. Yeah. I remember like that was the upgrade that killed Mech versus Protoss. It's like, oh, you can 2-shot planetaries now. That's great. As if the Tempest armor already good enough versus Mech.
Yeah, definitely so. This is, just the map is really, really nice for Xena, and then just the solid build. Like, if the bot author hadn't made the choice to throw down those cannons and batteries with the extra minerals they had, Zozo might have pushed up that ramp and potentially counterstruck. So it's just a great example of why you make those decisions.
Yeah, it's at the point now where these 3 Tempests can one-shot a Stalker if they all shoot the same one.
Yeah,
no,
this may be a flawless game too. Has Xena lost a single thing this game so far? 2 probes, okay. Oh.
Yeah, one Tempest is flirting with disaster. He
It
really
re-
wants to
it really
shoot
is.
the War Prism, I think. So he's getting in there. Now with the War Prism down, he'll probably be a little safer. But he is on his final 2 hit points, trying to get some shield regen now. And there we go. Tempest is so scary when they get up to this number.
Yeah, they really are. Well done by Xena.
GG.
Yeah, GG Xena. Bring it back to 1 for 1.
Love
Nice
that build.
there. Yeah, definitely. It's a very fun build. All right.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was the last tournament or maybe the Pro Bots tournament, but we saw a real epic game that was identical to this, except the Immortal Stalker was like blowing through the entire base, and it was like one cannon left trying to keep the base alive, and the Tempest is slowly pattering damage, like with the first couple Tempests trying to keep, like, it just ran out of steam right before it finished off the last structures.
Oh yeah.
But this one was very one-sided because the Stalkers and Immortals unfortunately got all glitched out on the ramp there. I don't think he had enough to break through anyways, but you probably could have at least gotten some cannon kills or something without the glitching.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, let's get into the next one. And ladies and gentlemen, as always, click that like button on the stream if you haven't already. Follow the Twitch on YouTube. Join the Sc2 Ai Discord. There's lots of guides and helpful people who may answer questions if you have difficulties programming a bot.
Yeah, we were very friendly and helpful, so that's all good.
I even saw a question in the Java channel. I'm like, ooh, another Java author has arrived.
Oh wow!
I don't know who he is. But,
Excited,
we
yeah.
got someone new.
Nice. All right, let's go.
Okay, so we got to update the scores there. 1-1, it is Xena versus Zozo.
Ooh.
This time, Zozo spawning in the bottom right as the red Protoss, and Xena spawning as Terran in the top left, and looks like he may be going for the same build.
Yeah. Will it get scouted this time, though?
It will not. Yeah, look at the pathing of it on the minimap. You can see that the probe is going to miss out on those SCVs. However, the probe will see that he's up against Terran, and he will see the lack of a barracks. So I'm not sure how deep the scouting is in Zozo's code, but he has the opportunity to know that something crazy is going on here.
Yeah, it's interesting because like we saw the win rates printed at the start of this game, and it was fairly even this proxy build.
Look at that. Xena blocks the gas steal. He pushes
really
an SCV up against the gas geyser, so the Zozo can't do his patented gas stealing. Or every Protoss bot that likes to do that gas steal. Watch as he passes by right here. Okay, never mind.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually curious about that, like how good are gas steals in bot games, because it's not something you see too often. Maybe that's just because it has already been sort of thrown out of the meta. Because, but
well, certainly bots are more likely to not be able to adapt on the fly compared to a human. So like if you're doing a 2-gas opener build and the gas is blocked, then you may end up floating like 1,400 minerals as you're waiting for as your gas intake is lower than expected.
Okay, so Xena successfully gets this proxy up, and this is going to be really scary for Zozo. Zozo has just been playing a regular game, no real response to the lack of scouting a barracks or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, technically this is the correct way to defend. You don't want to get zealots. You want to wait for stalkers and shield batteries to defend versus proxy.
Yeah,
but will you get the shield batteries and stalkers? No, you can even do low ground nexus against it. Some people don't, but you can and survive. But yeah, he didn't chrono boost out the. He didn't get that shield battery right away, so.
Yeah, you need to pull probes too to defend this, don't you?
Yeah, you probably do. Yeah, there goes shield battery. I think.
Yeah,
or
that
was that shield battery or
too? That was a battery, but
oh, there's a probe blocking the stalker. Oh my gosh.
Ouch! 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 Ouch!
Yeah, for any ladder players out there, feel free to expand versus proxy Marauder. You can hold. You just gotta chrono boost the Stalker, and you gotta get the shield battery right away.
Yeah, I think you definitely do need to pull probes though too to
Yeah, and
support the Stalker.
Yeah, and probes are surprisingly good versus Marauders too.
Oh,
Marauders
yeah.
kill them quite slowly because half their damage is versus armored, and workers aren't armored. So
Well, Xena's Marauder build seems to have been quite successful. No concussive shell yet, so these Stalkers can in theory micro back, but Xena's so aggressive they wander forward. And...
yeah, I feel like that's a mistake. Concussive shell is such a cheap and fast upgrade that I feel like it won't even interrupt your build getting it. I think it's like, what, 50 minerals and 25 gas? It's a super cheap upgrade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did warn you of some fast games, and Xena coming back with nice play there. So, well
we expected this. Like, we're going to have one matchup that was like the long drawn out best bots in the world, and then we're going to have like a clown fiesta with the series. So
yeah,
it's nice to get a mix of both.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. All right. Let's move swiftly on to game number 4.
I do like Marauder cheese a lot. It's just the only problem with it is you never want Marauders when you transition, so it always makes for an awkward transition. But
yeah,
early game they're so strong with concussive shell. Basically, like a guaranteed, like you get concussive shell, you get a guaranteed Stalker kill, like right off the bat.
Yeah, you can really.
It's the same in all 3 matchups. Yeah.
Even just like opening up with like a single concussive shell Marauder, like that's a build sometimes Terrans do, and it's really, yeah, it's just catches Protoss that are all la-di-da-di-da out on the map with their Stalker or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're paying for like twice the cost of the upgrade by getting that Stalker that you wouldn't have had otherwise. Just for a single kill, the upgrade pays for itself, which is awesome.
Yeah. And now we do have Zozo sending out a scout. The pathing on this map, the probe immediately finds it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is really bad for Xena.
Game 1.
Yeah, it's horrendous. We've seen this before. Oh no.
Does he leave a gap between those 2 structures as well?
He does.
He does. Oh my gosh, so there wasn't even that safe spot. Yeah, so it's just like the luck of the map, you know, whether that probe will catch it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to see a complete copy of game 1 here.
Yeah.
So this is going to be, what, another ace match? Is it 2-2 after this?
I think it's 1-2, right?
Okay.
Right.
Yes, I think, yeah, so we're like, assuming this goes as expected, I think we're going to end up with probably another ace match here.
Right, yeah.
Let's see if
Xena's able Tempest for...
Yeah. I mean, Xena had the good luck on the racial spawn versus Tom test, and now he's getting the bad luck. 3 out of 4 games pulling Terran against Zozo. Luckily one of them didn't get spotted, but 2 of them are just instant losses. Let's see if he can actually make a barracks this time. Command center.
No.
400 minerals. Yep, no barracks.
That code is not gonna change. It's just gonna keep trying to do its thing. Yeah, it is a bit uncharacteristic for Xena to have a build fail this hard when it's scouted. Like, it's not something you really associate with Xena. She's failing this hard and then having a bug of this, because Xena very well, like, if it just had code to build a new Rax in its main, it would come to life, probably, but instead it dies.
Yeah, Drekken did like a post-bot episode about the way Xena does builds, and it's really, really clever. So this just might be something hard-coded just for the cheese that kind of broke.
Yeah.
No, we get an ace match out of it though, so I'll take it.
Yeah, 2 ace matches in a bots tournament. How about that?
Yeah, and we still haven't seen the PBZ yet, so.
I know. Maybe we will. I mean, let's take a look. All right, it's our final match of the evening. It is 2-2. We have an ace match between Zozo and Xena, and it is coming right up in 1 second. Screen here.
Yeah, Xena's wins were more decisive, but I still think I'm putting my money on Zozo. Zozo's got some strong cheeses, and we may end up seeing it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you may as well just roll a dice and that's how.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think the sports books have picked up Sc2 Ai yet, but I definitely wouldn't suggest betting on this series. There's no way to know what will happen.
Definitely.
Oh, okay, Zerg.
Okay, spawning down in the bottom right of this ace match game, we do have the red Protoss Zozo. And finally, spawning as the third race, we got to see all three. It is the blue Zerg, Xena, doing a little extractor trick, which is, because of speed mining, the most optimal way to actually do an opening build order. And looks like saving up for a hatchery, as I don't see a pool going down. Probe does arrive as the first pylon finishes. Does see... That did see the hatchery, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so probably
And then
saw
it
the
goes
hatchery without
home?
revealing himself. I swear I didn't get in close enough. Can we see the vision
Can
of
we check
Protoss?
the vision?
If you highlight
It must have, yeah. Should be if you press 2
or if you highlight a Protoss here and hold down V, that works as well.
yeah, maybe press 1. That. There you go.
Okay,
Yeah, he did
so
see it.
spot it. Okay, so nice scouting out of Zozo. He's like, okay, there's no SCVs to go harass for my victory. Let's
Yeah.
let's go into macro build. Okay, so both bots going into an expansion, which is not something I would have ever guessed in this series.
No, that's something that makes me wonder because like Zozo just hasn't really been cheesing in this series. It's just been playing its sort of standard play, and I wonder if that's because it is up against a random opponent, and that it usually decides its cheese before it, like, when it knows the race of the opponent. So,
Yeah, and let's remember some history about the bot author of Xena, who's nowadays, you know, we got Xena, which is I think a bot written in Rust that's a random bot, but originally this was the author of Zoe, who was by far the second best Zerg bot on the ladder after Eris. So I would imagine, based on the history, that Xena's best race must be Zerg, and I think that's why we're seeing a macro game, just because Xena probably has a lot of good stuff covered for this.
I don't think it is a macro game though. It's a Ling flat.
Well, never mind. Take it all back. Well, he was also the author of Evil Zoe, who was the cheesing Zerg. So
I do miss having Zoe and Evil Zoe on the ladder.
Yeah, I'm sure you could probably throw them back on if you wanted to. They probably haven't been updated for quite a long time at this point. But
yeah, well, I think they were taken out because were they programmed in Java? The same bug that like, because wasn't there a bug
Python,
or something
I believe, was his first bug.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Definitely not Java.
Okay, because wasn't there a bug or something that killed some bots on the ladder or was causing a crash with a Python update?
Oh, there was,
something?
and that was Python. You're right. So yeah, he probably has to update something to make them work again.
Yeah, probably something very minimal, but
yeah,
anyway.
like a library update or something. Yeah, I would like to see him go now because you get the natural base right now if you go.
This could be really bad for Zozo. We're gonna have to see how well those stalkers micro, or whether they can hold on the ramp or something, because Xena is coming on in with a lot of Zerglings.
Yeah, he's up to level 4 stalkers now with a battery, and then obviously battery overcharge will be available, but that's not enough against this.
Okay, probes are getting
damage.
pulled. That's massively important.
Mm-hmm. And we do know that Zoe knows how to micro probes, but against that many speed links, there's only so much micro you can do.
Battery overcharge gets popped, and the stalkers kind of hugging the battery are actually keeping it alive a little bit longer. So Zozo does get quite a bit of healing out of the battery. There's just so many lings, though.
Yeah. The probes actually did incredible. They're all stacked on one mineral patch, so they're giving the least amount of surface area while applying maximum damage with their mineral locking. But yeah, this insane flood of Zerglings. Look at that though. The probes are actually helping fight in the wall. I love that.
Yeah, Zozo's probe micro is so good.
Yeah.
But
well, he was literally at the top of the ladder as a probe rush bot.
Yeah.
And look at that. They fight. As soon as they attack, they mineral lock back. So all these probes are getting to fights, even though only like 2 or 3 Zerglings get to fight.
Yeah, unfortunately it means there's no mining going on, but
yeah.
Xena is now transitioning, it says, or it said that anyway, but it's still actually just been flooding quite a few more lings, so yeah, I don't know, those probes are all very injured and there's just a few too many lings, nothing else to help out. It's gonna be a sad end, I think, for Zozo.
Nice stand though. I mean, if you're gonna get knocked out of the tournament, that's a good way to do it. Kind of showing off like one of your best abilities. Every other bot would have died way faster in that position. only Zozo has the probe Michael like that.
Oh yeah, that was a superb series, and we got to see all 3 races from Xena as well. So you know, we'll see. This is 2 5-game series.
Only it weren't infinite Zerglings. You know?
Always are.
You know, we saw Eris earlier do a Ling Flight and then transition. If we saw that, I think we see Zozo hold.
Yeah.
The fact that it was fully committed to like nonstop Zerglings was just there's nothing you could do.
No, it's it was a really brilliantly run series from Xena, and it's going to be a NegativeZero versus Xena final.
Congratulations, Xena. I think that might be Xena's first finals.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, congratulations.
Well deserved. Yeah. There's certain things that Xena does that's more advanced than any other bot, but Xena's always just been middle of the road, so it's kind of nice to see Xena get some attention in the tournament finals now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the bracket. And we see 2
Eris,
best of 5
Zozo.
series.
That'll be fun too.
Oh yeah, definitely. It'll be a fun series there. Sorry, just got that out of focus a little bit. But yeah, so yeah, Eris versus Zozo in the 3rd place match. That's going to be a fun one, like you say. Yeah, I can see that going either way as well. And also, yeah, Xena versus NegativeZero. I mean, that could go either way. That really could.
Yeah.
But
it's gonna be a tough one for Xena. The NegativeZero.
I think so too.
Much like Eris is one of those bots that doesn't have a flaw, so you got to outplay NegativeZero, which is really hard, or you need to make a flaw, which is also very hard. But Xena's got some nice cheese up its sleeves, and NegativeZero may not be as strong versus random bot. Obviously, you're kind of playing in the dark from the start of the game.
yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Like even the Ling Flood we just saw, I mean, that's one of the biggest pet peeves of Protoss players playing against random is like, where do I put the first pylon? Do I need to wall off the natural, or do I need to wall off the main base? And if you choose wrong, like we saw there, if NegativeZero doesn't wall off the natural, then he might get flooded with lings, you know?
That's a good point. Yeah. Even like that Marauder build, that's not an easy thing to defend against, so.
No, it's not.
Oh, definitely. All right.
And Zozo, like with Zozo, we know, you know, he's not going to be like microing storm drops or something like that. But we also know Zozo's active, so he probably has something planned for Eris. I don't know what it is, but he's probably got some cheesy thing coming Eris's way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So great matches today, and it's going to be great matches in, I think you said about 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, unfortunately it's Easter next week, and I'm going to be away out of the country, and I think a few people are going to be not here, so we're going to take a week off, and we're going to be back in 2 weeks time with our finals week, and it's going to be some really exciting, so make sure, sorry guys, you're going to have to wait 2 weeks for it, but it's going to be fun. But thank you everyone for joining in tonight, and thank you again, Laughing Games and Ketchup, for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all the fun things you can do. It's going to be fun, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks.
See you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.